Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of You, Season 3, Episode 4. The title might as well have been, well, that escalated quickly because I feel like that is this episode to a T.
Absolutely. And although it escalated really quickly, things really worked out for Joe and Love.
Who would have thought that these two murderous kids could find a way to make things work in this really crazy world, and yet still they find a way to kind of make things intriguing with another cliffhanger at the end of the episode.
Yeah, this was a really good episode. I know I wasn't the biggest fan of episode 3, but episode 4, we are back on track again.
I am right there with you. This was probably my favorite one of the season so far.
Oh, really? More than the premiere. I really like the premiere.
The premiere was really good. It's just this episode to me, it found a way to sort of introduce some new dynamics into some established stuff that we know with you. It tied together a couple of things in a way that even surpassed some of my own expectations, which,
Wow. Well, this bar is getting set higher, Matt.
I'm feeling good right now. What can I say? Granted, there's still time it can crash and burn, but we don't need to think like that.
No, but before we get into this, hit that subscribe button. We're going to have a new You episode review up every single morning until we are done with the season. And also join us later tonight for NCIS. We're covering that every single Monday. We just did Succession yesterday. Also a really, really great show. So hit that subscribe button and stick around with us.
Let's start with Gil. Because Gil,
You jump right into the deep end.
Gil, I am very okay. This is the thing. I'm kind of sad the Gil storyline is kind of done already because Gil was a good character. Like this dude was very, very weird. I love the Ned Flanders comparison that Joe at one point gives him. He's just a very different sort of guy than pretty much anyone who has ever been in the box on You before.
And there was a really good twist with this. So we saw that Love It hit him on the head, put him in the box, told Joe what was going on. They really wanted to find something on him. And after Joe did a lot of digging, he came up with kind of nothing. So he decides to go to Gil and just asks him, give me something. Gil's got really nothing. And so we see Love decide to hire this PI to go dig into his past.
Yeah.
Where we find out that his son has done some very questionable, bad, horrible, awful, just awful things that I'm not going to repeat here because they're a little bit too awful to be repeating. However, his mother has been sort of covering these things up, covering and, putting money out there to make sure that he's still able to go to school, even though he's done these awful, horrible things on campus there. It was the twist where Joe saw that Gil didn't know everything that was going on. He had understood the first thing that his son had did, but thought that his son had gotten past these things and wasn't doing them anymore, and has learned that that is not the case. His son is still a scumbag.
I feel like Gil is just such a nuanced, interesting character in that way where, he's got sort of that goody two shoes persona where the worst thing he's ever done is, taken some money that he used in Vegas and put back, and he acts like this is the most horrible sin that's ever been committed. But then he's got this, this past incident involving his son, which is just terrible. And to have like it be revealed all of a sudden that this has been hidden from him for all of this time, and you're like, okay, so he's got like this sort of horrible revelation hitting him while at the same time he's dealing with this idea of, oh, I'm trapped in this box with these two people who may never let me get out of here. And you can see him kind of in the first part of this episode being like, okay, I'm going to try to keep the faith. It's going to be okay. But I think when he finds out about his son, it is just like two just really horrible things hitting him at once. And then all of a sudden it becomes too much to bear.
Yeah, especially after that exchange that he had with Joe, sort of talking about how he felt that he had done the best that he could with his son, that he was kind of like, be a good example, love them, support them, let them find their own way, that this is the way to be able to help your child grow up to be a good person. And then on top of that, now he's realized what a bad person his son was and then continued to be. He just couldn't handle it, and he decided to take his own life in the box.
That whole scene was tough, like really tough. Just the revelation that this was how Gil had died, and for the whole first part of this episode, and I really like what they did with this, that Joe was desperate that Gil was going to survive. He wanted to do whatever he could to make sure this happened, that it wasn't yet another incident of, oh, here's someone in the box who's just going to end up dying. Like, I think everything with Delilah is still like heavily in his heart because of what happened there.
Yeah, and he really wants to make sure that the things that happen to him are not going to happen to Henry, that Henry is going to have a chance to be sort of Joe's way of breaking the circle, that it won't just keep repeating and repeating down the line. He wants to sort of change the legacy, that Henry is not going to have a dad that is going to continue to do this stuff. Now that Henry is here, he wants it to stop. So when Love came to him that one time and said, what are we going to do about Gil? Like, we can't find anything on him. He got really upset at the idea that she was lightly kind of pushing the idea that maybe they were going to have to kill Gil. And I'm glad that the show found another way and they built a different story around this to keep Joe and Love on the same page, that they are done with this, that this was not something that they think they did, even though they did reveal this stuff to Gil. It's all sort of part of the same situation, Joe and Love.
How they managed to tie this in to everything with Natalie, like, whew, how diabolical was this? Because I thought there might have been a chance they could figure something out here, but I didn't anticipate it kind of tying together in a way that was as neat as it was. Because, yeah, they could go and put Natalie somewhere and hope that eventually she didn't get found, but there's always a chance, and the more that information comes out, the more questions are gonna come from that. And they say it, we're gonna get two birds with one stone.
Oh.
And by the way, whenever you hear that expression, I don't think it's meant to describe murders and covering them up.
Yeah, and the way that they put this together with this idea that Gil was having an affair with Natalie, and then he couldn't take it, so he killed her, and then he killed himself. It was the amount of hurt that Joe and Love have put on these families is like undescribable.
And I think there's probably this thought of, oh, this will solve everything. Everything will just go away now. But the truth is, we still don't know that much about Gil. And Gil seemed to be a pretty optimistic dude for at least a little while before sort of these final reveals. You can't guarantee that nobody is going to be like, something's a little amiss here. We got to look into this a little bit more. Like, there's only 4 episodes into this season. I have a hard time thinking it's done.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it's going to be done. I mean, they did end the episode in a way that it seems like the police were satisfied with the evidence that was there, that this is the reason. This is what has happened.
And, and if that is the case, then they're setting themselves up where we're catapulting off on a totally new direction. And it's sort of like the U writers being like, hey, we're going to play a magic trick on you guys. We're going to spend these first few episodes being like, look over here, murder, Natalie, Gil, box. But then it's over here, it's like, oh, here's Marianne, the librarian, who has been here for the season, and now we're getting really mixed up with her.
Yeah, we are. It seems that Joe is just still unable to stop himself for this idea that a little bit of attention from somebody, whether it's innocent or not innocent, just he cannot control himself.
No, he can't control him. And like all of this was still fairly innocent at this point. It was a library. Maybe there was flirting there, maybe not. But we know that Joe will interpret anything as flirting if he wants it to be seen as flirting. And I think that's where his mind can distort things.
Yeah, and I was actually starting to feel a bit hopeful for Joe. And the biggest thing that I had thought of why Joe has really not been able to control himself is that he is looking for someone who is not like him, that would not mirror back sort of this monster he thinks he is, someone who is pure, someone who is loving, and that would bring him on that journey instead, and that wouldn't mirror him back. But after the therapy in episode 2 with Love, it really felt like he did turn a corner inside himself where he has somebody who sees him for who he is behind the mask and still loves him and loves him just as he is. I thought that that was actually going to be a bit of healing for him because, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I believe that people can change and they can work on things. But he needs more help here because clearly he hasn't completely turned the corner.
Yeah, and I think he wants to turn the corner, or at least a part of him does. I think the problem is just clearly this behavior pattern is so deep, and the big problem here is that he's already volunteering at the library, so he has a perfect little alibi for old Joe to sort of come back up. He's not like going and sneaking off somewhere else. He can just do it while he's working, and that is troublesome.
Yeah, the other problem is just that Joe is not getting any help for this. So while he had some help for marriage counseling, it seems like that is done now. And just personal growth, Joe, he doesn't have anybody that he can talk to besides his wife, who is on the same kind of journey as him. And that doesn't really help. He kind of needs that outside perspective to help him get more introspective of why he keeps doing this when he has somebody at home that truly loves him for who he is.
We're 12 minutes into this video, so I think it's safe enough now to talk about the thing I did not like in this episode.
All right, let's have it.
I am getting out on Theo as a character. I felt like what you proposed in the last review, which is sort of that this could be sort of a new 40 sort of character who Love could be helping to care for, and just like having Theo then kiss her, it's just like it felt so predictable that okay, he's still gonna do this is still gonna go down. It's just like I don't need this on this show. I don't know where it really is gonna go anywhere that's that interesting.
I don't think it's really going anywhere. I originally thought that Theo was going to be this like really strange, creepy guy where things were going to get real dark with Love. And I mean, that's still possible, but it kind of looked like he was getting ready to go back to college. I mean, it looked like he was packing some stuff in the truck and he was kind of like, bye. And that's what that felt like. Like, I think he's gone. And if that's the case, then what was really the purpose of this, except for Love to just really face her hurt about 40, because everything all did happen at the same time for her. She sort of learned about Joe. Joe learned about her. She was pregnant. She had her kid. They moved to the suburbs. It was just so much stuff piling on her that she didn't really have a lot of time to deal with losing 40 and everything that happened. Then this kid comes in that reminds her of her brother. That's how I'm interpreting it. Yeah. But that's not how Theo felt. He clearly was from the beginning, you got a banging body, now I'm going to try to kiss you. She dealt with it the way that I expected her to, which was pull back and hit him and be like, don't, never again, man. Don't ever cross that line again.
Yeah, I just wish that this had gone in a more interesting sort of direction, because even, you talk about 40 and dealing with that. It's also the time that Love spent with 40, because it felt like she spent like a good percentage of every single day of like putting her emotional energy into him, and it's like, okay, that's gone. Where does that energy go now? Does it just go into Henry? Like, they haven't fully like explained all of that, and I would think there's remnants of that are important to her character and the rest of this season.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so there's the funniest, most ridiculous thing in this episode. Once again, the title goes to Sherry, and your you can't say hashtag Natalie come home in the middle of a big emotional sort of speech. No real sane person in the middle of any of that is going to brand their plea for help and for care.
Except some influencers out there, and they do this. It is very topical. It is very true that this type of stuff happens. And I was glad to see Theo call it out and sort of say, listen, like, this is part of my family. Like, what are you doing? Where's your megaphone, Sherry? And really come at her for what she was doing. I was a little bit surprised to see Love step in and sort of calm Sherry down. But I mean, if you don't calm Sherry down, Sherry turns into like an even bigger issue.
Yeah, Love's clearly trying to just diffuse the situation for now, and hopefully it'll start to go away, because the real problem here, at least to me, and we don't know where the rest of the season is going, but if Sherry gets any sort of whiff that Joe or Love are somehow involved in all of this, she is going to just like sprint to whatever social media device, act like she did everything, she solved the case, she is the hero. It's bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, Love did enough. We saw that she got some flowers at the end from your friend Sherry. So,
my friend Sherry.
Yeah, so no, then it was labeled from your friend Sherry. No, not your friend Sherry.
Listen,
not
I'm blind.
Sherry.
Blind Bat did not see the card.
This is now Love's friend Sherry, which is not really a great place to be, but not the worst place to be in a town that seems to be influenced by Sherry.
Let's just hear from you guys. Is Sherry your friend?
Oh,
what
no.
Did you... No, don't say yes, but let us know what you thought about this episode in the comments. And if you did enjoy this discussion, hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss any other review. We are here every single day, and we'll see you here next time.